Welcome into another Kickoff the Tip-Off with Noah and Gage. Today we'll be going into a little bit of March Madness. Way too early March Madness, but teams get hot in February, and we want to start a little bit of coverage now. Gage,
Hey,
go ahead.
finally on the tip off side of things.
Yes, sir. Getting into a little bit of, guess what I say? I'm a little bit more nerdy in this than Gage. I watch college basketball on my Saturdays. I wouldn't say I'm Ronstein yet. I don't think I'd say I'm at that level. That guy always has 58 TVs rolling, but I do dabble in a little Big Ten, SEC, Big 12. I think Gage definitely does watch a little bit more of the mid-major games than I do. Let's go ahead and say that.
Let's clarify something here. You're sitting on your couch all snugly eating your Oreos, drinking your milk, doing whatever, watching ranked SEC teams battle it out, Florida, Auburn, yada, yada, yada. Man, here I am watching Arkansas State, Samford, McNeese State, schools that you've never even heard of until guess what? They show up in March Madness and beat these SEC teams. They beat these Big 10, Big 12 teams. I know. I'm predicting it a month out. I know this. And this goes for college football too. Mid-major, it is what you make it. If you go into it expecting to watch some great basketball or football, you're not getting it. But if, you're going to see some stuff you've never saw before.
Yeah, that is something very, very true, especially that group of five football. That is Middle Tennessee State. We always reference them. But
Hey, we're going to get into Middle Tennessee State this upcoming fall. Guys, be ready. Them in Texas State.
breaking down into this Gage into a little setting the scenery, I guess, say what we're going to cover in today. Games tonight, as we're recording, we've got Clemson, North Carolina, Houston, Baylor. Only two kind of big name teams that are playing. Just to give you a little bit of my predictions here, I got Clemson winning, and I've got Houston winning. Clemson coming off the big win against Duke this weekend. Cooper Flag somehow trips, slips, falls, whatever it is on that game-winning shot, and he just never gets to take it.
Yeah, lucky you, man. You get to record this saying Clemson's going to win. The time of recording, they're up 47-31. So that's a great bet.
Hey, look
Great
at
bet
that.
out of you right there for
Look at
sure.
that.
Yeah. As you mentioned, and then the other big one tonight, Baylor versus number 6 ranked Houston. Houston being the home team, 9.5-point favorite in that one. Gearing up for obviously a huge Tuesday, man. A lot of action this week. I believe it's Saturday that Auburn plays Alabama, correct?
I believe that is the Saturday. Yes, sir.
What, 1 versus 2, which is something crazy. It's the first time that's ever going to happen in SEC play or something, if I'm not wrong.
I think that's a stat I've seen. Another stat I was able to come across today. This was the first time that a number one and number two have lost on the same day. We had this Saturday, we had Duke go down and we had Auburn go down. Auburn runs into a ferocious Florida Gator. Shout out Brady Richardson there. Big Gator fan. So just looking at this past weekend, what do you think was the biggest shock to you?
Well, obviously, this is cliche to say, but I'm trying the best way to explain it. The fact that this late into the season, number 1 and number 2 lost was pretty shocking to me because it's right around this time where these teams are starting to really hit their peak. You know what I mean? So it kind of shocked me that Clemson and then Auburn getting beat by Florida, who a good team, but especially a home game too. I guess that was what really shocked me.
Just watching both those games, what shocked me was the way. So Florida goes up. I mean, Auburn goes up early on Florida. Auburn is, just kicking the ball in transition. They're hitting shots. Broom's doing what he does. And then Florida takes the punch. They bounce back. A lot of people don't know that was a 10-point game there at the beginning in Auburn's favor. They take the punch. They come back. They swing all the momentum. And then it was Florida's game from there on out. They were up pretty big. I think 15 points towards 10 minutes left to go in the second half. You look at that, breaking that down, Auburn starts to make a little bit of a run back. It gets down to like 7 points. They come back down the floor. Florida shoots a 3, misses it, gets the ball back, kick it out for a 3, game over. You just knew at that point in time, 6 or 7 minutes left, that it wasn't happening. They weren't coming back. A big thing I saw that I was really impressed with by Florida is they played Broom one-on-one, no help with their bigs. They really trusted in what the bigs what their bigs could do defensively. I thought that was very interesting to see a team take that approach. As good as Broom's been this year, I mean, he's a finalist for Player of the Year.
Yeah, definitely. And then Florida, obviously backed by kind of their stud, Walter Clayton Jr., who never came off the court in that game, played 40 minutes with 19 points, 9 assists, 6 rebounds, seems to be the heart and soul of that team, kind of does everything. And they obviously got playmakers around him too. But, yeah, for Florida to really excel and be at their peak, he's the guy for sure.
Yep. Looking into the Duke-Clemson game, Dick Vitale's first game back in the building after a 2-year cancer battle. Love to see it. I always thought DiGiorno pizza was better with Dick Vitale by its side. But just thinking about that win for Clemson, a lot of people kind of wrote Clemson off there. They dropped 2 games in the ACC, very weak ACC this year. Clemson comes back, and what they did was hit shots when they needed to. They played good defense. Man, I'm watching the last minute of that game, and Cooper Flagg's hitting every shot you could see. I'm thinking, if he gets this ball at the end, I'm sorry, Clemson. This shit's over. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No court storming for you. End up seeing, as we saw earlier in the year, Flagg trips over his own feet. Some might say a slick spot. One way or the other, doesn't get the shot up. Clemson goes on to win the basketball game. I thought it was a statement game from Clemson, but I don't think it's something Duke should worry about. Going undefeated in your conference, just as Auburn, going undefeated in the conference is almost impossible.
Yeah, especially at that. Yeah, even for ACC in a weaker year in terms of college basketball, for sure. That game obviously brought Clemson up to 19-5 overall, 11-2 in conference. Duke drops 12-1 in conference, 20-3 overall. Clemson could just they got a huge game out of I believe it is their big man Victor Locken, correct?
Yep.
Victor Locken. Yeah, that game had right in front of me here 22 points. Led them in scoring. They have a really good dynamic guard with Chase Hunter, and then kind of a glue guy, Ian Shufflebein, white guy, long curly hair.
Yep.
And I thought they just overall just played. They had a slow first half. I will throw that out there. At the end of the first half, Duke was actually up 41-35, and then regroup. In the second half, they come out and score 42 points compared to Duke's 30. Obviously, winning the game 77-71. But Clemson's just a team to me where they're not flashy, but they just get things done. They do all the little things, and it's good basketball from them for sure.
Looking at ESPN's latest bracketology, which would be last week's, they haven't released one for this week yet, but they had West Virginia, which Gage and I are huge fans of. They had West Virginia playing Clemson 8-9 game. A game where I think West Virginia, if that was to happen, granted, way too early to predict the March Madness bracket, but if that were to happen, that would be a game where West Virginia definitely looks into a situation where they need a big game from Hansberry to stretch the floor, and they need a big game rebounding from Andre, because the bigs there, they get the job done. That is for sure.
Yeah, 100%. They really force tough matchups.
Looking into that, there was another big game that actually happened on Friday that I thought would be maybe a UConn bounce back to get them on the right direction going to March Madness. And St. John's pulls it off. St. John's. Gage has heard me rave about this guy, Kadary Richmond. I love him. He hits shots. He wasn't in that game watching it. Wasn't a flashy scoring game for him, but I think he actually went to halftime with 2 points, Gage. That's just off the top of my head, but I believe he went to halftime with 2 points.
Yeah, and he finishes with 12 points. Maybe a slow first half. He ended the game with 4 personal fouls. Not sure how quick he picked them up, but 12 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. Yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, the guy's just kind of active all the way around the floor on a really poor shooting night, too. 4 for 12 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3. Knocks down 4 out of 6 free throws. Viral clip of Rick Pitino talking about his team shooting free throws. He's talking about, offing himself. Just, they are a team, man. It's odd to me the success they have, because when you look at the numbers of their shooting percentages, their free throw percentages, it's crazy to me that they're a ranked team with those numbers.
They're gritty,
but they just win. They just win.
They're gritty. They play defense, and Pitino. I mean, to be honest, Pitino is a great basketball coach. When there's a big play to happen, yes, he trusts his guys, but he knows when a run's coming one way or a run's going the other way. He knows when to set not the full court press, but full court pressure, where he's got a guy guarding the ball full court. He understands that a basketball game isn't one possession, one play. It's continual changes by him. Whether it be pace, defensive pressures. I really thought when I'm watching this game, when I'm looking into this game, McNeely is it Luke McNeely?
Yeah, Liam McNeely.
Liam McNeely, that's it. Liam McNeely
He came off the bench. He was injured earlier in the year.
Yep, I saw him coming back, so I'm like, okay, this is a game UConn gets their footing back, but man, St. John's just came up and stepped up to the test.
Yeah, 100%. And let's just throw this out here too, man. College basketball just feels right with Rick Pitino coaching St. John's.
Yes, it does.
Just a perfect match made in heaven. Him coaching in the Big East against all those northeastern teams. It's just a good sight for college basketball.
That people don't know what I would do for one season of the real Big East basketball to happen again. I loved it. Was a huge fan of it, and still enjoy watching them. Huge Big East guy. I watch them all the time. Creighton, Nova, UConn, St. John's, DePaul, Seton Hall, Georgetown. All these teams. That are in that conference. I enjoy watching them. I enjoy the quality of basketball in that conference.
Yeah, and even the old Big East, obviously being West Virginia fans, we kind of grew up around it. The Syracuse and Louisville in there as well. Marquette. It was really Marquette. It was really good.
A lot of
really good basketball. Last thing I'll touch on. I'll let you do your thing. Rick Pitino he just wins wherever he goes, man. Kentucky 219-50, Louisville 416-143, Iona 64-22, and now at St. John's 41-16. Is this his second year
at St. John's?
Yeah.
Yes, this is his second year. Last year he was there. He definitely had to get his reins on the program, build his culture. Wasn't the best season last year. Wasn't a bad season for a guy coming into a program where you got to rebuild it. It doesn't have the luxury of maybe a team like Kansas State, Michigan State.
20 and 13 with 11-9 conference record in the 2023-24 season. So
yep. So another team I want to get into that's very, very no other way to put it, hot right now. Kansas State.
Absolutely.
I think West Virginia kicks off there. Actually, a game before West Virginia comes into town. Kansas State looks to get things right. West Virginia comes to town, and they get things right again because that's West Virginia fashion, right? West Virginia basketball, West Virginia football, anything West Virginia related. A team that isn't playing well is going to play well against you. They have a huge win over Iowa State. This Saturday they have a huge win this past Saturday they have a huge win over Kansas. And guess who comes in the building tomorrow, Gage?
Our great friend Caleb Love.
Arizona is in the building tomorrow.
Hey, let's just go ahead. Let's share that because obviously this is the first college basketball. Arizona plays Iowa State maybe a week and a half ago. Noah and I both on Iowa State side of things as far as betting, and of course Caleb Love shooting, I'm not sure, 2 for 100 from 3, jacks one up from their free throw line and banks it in, and to take it to overtime where they then outscore Iowa State about 100-5 in 5 minutes.
Another great team to bring up there, Iowa State. This past weekend looks like they got things right. They got the center back. Curtis Jones came off the bench. They make a change. Curtis Jones comes off the bench. I think he ends with 16 or 19. Can't remember the exact.
Yeah, he was playing very poorly before that, and I think you and I talked about it. That was something. You're going to come off the bench today. Let's see how you react, and he definitely stepped up to the occasion. So just typical old-fashioned coach right there.
Yep, I like it. Kansas State, just getting back into Kansas State. You've got everything right. Gage, do you have their record pulled up by chance now? I think they're almost even now, 11-11.
One game above 500, sitting at 12-11, 7th in the Big 12.
So 12-11.
Right behind. Well, actually in the tie with as far as conference, WVU, BYU, all three of those teams sitting at 6-6, 5 games out of first place.
They have the win streak there, or they got a 4 or 5?
Yeah, so they are on a 5-game win streak after coming off a 6-game losing streak.
Yeah, so they are hot right now. Kansas State's a team where you're looking at them 3 weeks ago and you're like, "That shit, there's no way we make March." There's no way we get to March and we get into the tournament. Now you're looking at them. They pulled off some quad one wins. They're not just beating teams, Gage. They're dominating teams. They beat Iowa State by 15 points, I think. They beat Kansas this past week by 10 plus. I mean, these are teams that are quad one wins, like I said, and they're beating them by double digits. So it's very interesting to see what will happen come March if they can stay on this hot streak. Actually, while we're into it, money line madness coming up here. Kansas State is my money line plus money for tomorrow. They stay hot against Arizona, in my opinion. Arizona just came off a very, very tough-fought game against Texas Tech. Watch that game. Arizona won. Arizona's a very sneaky team out of the Big 12. Shouldn't say sneaky, but they started off the year rough. They're looking very good as well. So, big game tomorrow, but I do like...
Traveling across the coast.
Traveling across the coast. I do like Kansas State. I think they're at plus 136 right now. I like that snipe for plus money. Always a guy for plus money.
Yeah, hard to go against a home team at that in conference on a 5-game win streak. Yeah, we'll definitely see if you get that one. I actually do like that play. And no, I ask you about Kansas State. You've watched them a little bit more than me. It seems to me, just based off stats, they just have really, I should say, recently their guard play has really come alive. I look at a guy like David Ngosson, Braden Hawson, Coleman Hawkins, Doug McDaniel, all listed as guards, double-digit scoring as far as season average.
So, in my opinion, just from watching them, the biggest Coleman Hawkins,
6'10".
6'10".
Not sure.
He plays guard. I mean, he's definitely, I guess you could say he's a 4, but he definitely plays more of a 3, LeBron type role.
Yeah, I'm not sure why I was surprised at that. Yeah, the way NBA and basketball in general has evolved today. I mean, look at Rutgers, Ace Bailey, 6'10" guard, and he has handles like Kemba Walker.
Yeah, so just looking at the game itself when I'm watching him play, Doug McDaniel has been hot. He started to play a little bit more freely. He transferred in, not exactly sure where he maybe Michigan. I think Michigan came in from Michigan. Doug McDaniel playing a little bit more free. Looking at Coleman Hawkins, who's absolutely dominated some games. He's a matchup nightmare. 6'10", can handle the ball, can shoot it, can play off the ball, and rebounds the ball well. And defensively, he's been blocking shots at the rim. So nothing you can downplay for Kansas State in that roster.
Yeah, you were right. Doug McDaniel transfer from Michigan.
Yep. So, big team that I guess that's the team I'm most interested to see come if they're going to squeeze in. They asked Coach Yang, I think. Jiang, maybe? Is that Kansas State's head coach's name? It's a funny last name, so I'm buffering on it. But they asked him this week, and he said he knows they're a good enough team to make March, but he doesn't know if their resume is going to support making it to March. So that's going to be a team I'm watching closely down here. Definitely sneaking their way into a bubble conversation where if you're looking at a team a mid-major team who's maybe lost 5 or 6 games, 7 games, and you have a team like Kansas State who's lost 11, 12 games, you might see a little bit of a toss-up there. Just watching Kansas State recently, if they're playing good basketball, that's a Sweet 16 team in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely like that take. Transitioning off of that, I know, do you want to hop into some Big Ten standing talk?
Big Ten standing talk. Yes, sir. So we have, go ahead and rattle them off there for me. I have them pulled up on my ESPN app, but you go ahead.
Yeah, so Purdue still leading things in terms of the conference, sitting at 11-2, 19-5 overall, followed up by Michigan State, Michigan, UCLA, Wisconsin, Maryland, Illinois, and then 5 games or more out of first place. You're looking at Nebraska, Ohio State, USC, Indiana, Oregon, Rutgers.
So interesting thing just to keep in mind for the Big Ten, the bottom 5 teams, I don't think they make the conference tournament. So very interesting.
Yeah, which as of now would be Iowa, Northwestern, Minnesota, Washington, and Penn State, which Penn State is crazy to me because I was betting on them very often earlier in the year. I thought Ace Bailey, their guard, they have a really athletic big man too. They were just running some teams out of the gym early in the season, but they've struggled.
Yeah, agree with that. My shocking team, a lot of people, I don't know how I got pulled. I was telling Gage this other week. Somehow I got pulled to Illinois basketball side of Twitter, and they absolutely are mind-boggled about how the season's going. What I'm going to tell them is stay grounded, because Illinois is a team that has the roster that can compete at a very, very high level. Will Riley is a guard for them, another 6'6", 6'7" guy that can get to the rim, can shoot it, a guy that can carry you late into the postseason. They actually have a guy coming off of injury with a wrist injury. Cannot even think of his last name. It's a funny last name. Yeah, it starts with a J. I can't pronounce it anyways, even if I get it off my tongue.
You're talking about their leading scorer, Kasparis.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Kasparis Jacosinas.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, Jack. That sounds right. I think that's how the
My,
announcers pronounce
my
it.
best attempt. Yeah, their best player. I mean, he averaging 15 points a game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Yeah, big time player too. Freshman, 6'6", 200 pounds from Lithuania.
Yeah. So I really like watching him. But I do think they need to give the reins more to Will Riley because I think Will Riley's more athletic and maybe more dynamic around the rim. And I think Will Riley can play on ball and off ball where whatever that last name was, again, I cannot pronounce it, is
Just call him Casper, huh?
Yeah, call him
Yeah, Will Riley, 6'8", kind of fits that prototypical NBA combo guard. More so favored toward the 3-and-D side of things, but yeah, man. I mean, when you're watching Illinois games, when he's getting to the rim, and I think starting his game from inside out, he's on another level and does not look like a true freshman.
Yes, sir. Agree with that take. So that is my sneaky team to come out of the Big Ten. Like Michigan State just went on a 3. They just got right this past weekend, but they were on a 3-game skid. They went out west and didn't perform very well. So just looking at.
Yeah, two-game skid. They lost to USC, which is a bad loss, and then UCLA lost by 2, and then just recently beat Oregon at home.
Yes, sir. So just looking into Big Ten, I like a team that Michigan State's highly ranked. I don't love them. They don't shoot the basketball well, and defensively they get things done, but I don't think they're elite in defensive efficiency in turning turnovers into points. So another little piece there. Just looking into come March, a team that I don't know, might have a higher seed, might grab, a top, 4 seed, I'd say, probably in that range, 3-4 seed that I don't know makes a deep run in the tournament.
Any thoughts from you on Maryland, who's really been picking up steam as of late? Just jumped into the AP top 25, sitting at 25, 18-6 overall, 6th in the Big Ten. They just beat Rutgers 90-81, lost to Ohio State 73-70. Picked up a big win versus number 17 ranked Wisconsin, team that's been gaining a lot of traction recently, revolving around their freshman Derek Queen, who controls the paint.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Another freshman right there. It's funny to see how many freshmen are very impactful in college basketball. That's another team where you're looking at them and you're like, do they pass the eye test? Maybe, maybe not. I do think, like you said, this is the time where teams get hot, and if they get hot at the right time, can carry this through. You're looking at a team that might pick up a 5-6 seed, maybe. I'd say 5 or 6 seed is where I'd set Maryland at right now with resume wins.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously fresh in memory, NC State last year. Sometimes those are the most dangerous teams.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, just looking at what I would call the big 3, SEC, Big 10, Big 12. We all know Auburn. We know Duke. We know Iowa State. We know Kansas. There's a lot of teams that are that 1 through 3 seed potential there, right? Just looking at those teams compared to their mid-tier teams coming out of the conference who might grab a 7, 8, 9 seed, grabbing those last 4 byes. That's the thing within the conferences outside. I wouldn't say the Big Ten as much as I would the Big Ten SEC. You're going to see a lot of the mid teams in the SEC and the Big 12. You're going to see a lot of the teams that are mid tier, such as a thinking out of the Big 12, like a Baylor. Thinking of a Baylor team compared against maybe ACC. Thinking Clemson. That's going to be a game where you look at it and you're like, Clemson's probably the better team based off record, but Baylor gets into that game where, okay, that I think Baylor wins the basketball game, right? Just based off what they've seen during the season. So always interesting to see you beat each other up in the SEC and the Big 12, but you're definitely more battle tested come March.
Yeah, for sure. SEC holding 9 current teams in the AP top 25. Just it's a bloodbath every conference game for sure. I mean, outside of South Carolina and LSU this year, I mean, you still have to come ready to go versus Calipari and Arkansas, even though they haven't had the success that they thought they would. And Oklahoma the same way. I mean, these still quality teams for sure. It's just crazy to me. You look at a team like Texas, who in the Big 12 was always in the runnings for right around top 3 placing. Texas this year in conference 15-9 overall, 4-7 in SEC play.
Just to close us out here, Gage, I know we kind of hit a little bit of, just gave a little bit of a background what's shaping into March, what I see. What is a play you like tomorrow?
Yeah, so tomorrow on the Tuesday slate, my favorite play is actually Tennessee money line over Kentucky, going into Kentucky. These teams just recently squared off, and Tennessee just shot absolutely terrible. They lost 78-73. I got it pulled up here right here. Tennessee shot 11 for 45 from 3 for 24.4%, and it's just a very ugly game from them. I think this time around they hit shots. And as far as SEC play and just conference play in general, when you're playing a team that close in terms of scheduling, I like a split here. I like Tennessee to win the game. Not plus money, but currently sitting minus 130. So that would be my one pick I feel pretty good about tomorrow.
All right. My even money play for the day will be Iowa State minus 7.5 going down to Orlando. UCF, they play. UCF hasn't had a very impressive season. Definitely have some what I would call bucket getters on that squad there. But I do like Iowa State minus 7.5. They look very impressive this weekend. Only spotting the Cyclones 7.5 points seems kind of suspect to me. So I do like Iowa State minus 7.5. We're trying to keep record of picks on there. On the channel.
Yeah, we definitely get a counter. UCF is pretty much the definition of a AAU basketball team.
Yes.
I feel pretty confident in saying they are probably one of maybe 3 or 4 teams in college basketball this year that could score 110 points in a game and lose because they would give up 112.
I'd say Kentucky's number 2 on that list because Kentucky can't play like a defense either.
Yeah, they're up there too, which truly shocks me because I feel like Mark Pope's BYU teams guarded pretty well.
Yeah, I do agree with that. So just the last 5 minutes here of the college basketball breakdown. Let's go into a little bit of depth of our West Virginia Mountaineers. Saw a little write-up here today. 33% chance by ESPN West Virginia makes March Madness. Do you think that's absurd?
I do and I don't. I think and I'm not saying this being biased, you just can't take away some of these wins that West Virginia had. When they beat Gonzaga, Gonzaga was ranked 3rd, and I mean looking at it now, Gonzaga is not what we thought they were, but at the time, if the three is beside your team's name, that's where you're ranked at the time. They get that win 86-78, game that went into overtime. DeVries crazy shot, who's unfortunately out. They beat 24th ranked Arizona in that same tournament. Arizona, of course, got their lick back on us at home. They beat Kansas, which had never been done before, at Kansas. And then they beat number 2 Iowa State. So I just think in terms of the level of their top wins, 33% is a bit low to me.
Yep, I agree with that statement.
Now, you know, I understand that the Arizona State loss was awful. They got blown out by Arizona at home by roughly 20 points. The Kansas State loss, I mean, looking at it now, like not a bad loss. And of course, the Pitt loss, the second game of the season, is probably not looking like a good one in terms of Pitt this year too.
So just to go into a little bit more depth of breakdown, and eventually we'll get into a video where we go into what we like about West Virginia, what we don't like about the team this year. Not much not to like. I think we've definitely overachieved. The DeVries
in year one. Absolutely.
We'll definitely get into a West Virginia themed basketball video just for our listeners. So always stay in tune with us. We're West Virginia fanatics, so we will definitely cover West Virginia basketball and football. All things West Virginia we will cover. But just looking at West Virginia in the terms of March Madness, not getting into too much depth, they're 15-8 right now. You're looking at an 80 in last I looked, 86% chance for a Big 12 team to make the tournament with 18 wins or more. So you've got 9 games left. If you can pick up 3 more, in my eyes, you're golden for me. If you pick up 4 more, you're definite. And the way to solidify maybe from a 9 to a 10 seed up to that 8-7, win 2 games in your conference tournament, and I think that solidifies you. If you end the regular season with just say 19 wins, so you get 4 out of the last 9, and then you win 2 games in the conference tournament, I think you're solidified 8. I think you definitely, with 2 wins in the conference tournament, you solidify yourself at an 8 seed. And if one of those games would happen to be maybe a Kansas or a Texas Tech, Arizona, one of those 2 wins in the conference come to one of those teams, you're looking at more of a 7 seed, in my opinion.
Yeah, and not going to be an easy task because they have a lot of repeating games. They have BYU starting tomorrow, and then they play them March 1st to kind of round out the end of the regular season. They play Utah again, who they just played, Cincinnati, who they've already played, TCU, who they've already played. I believe the only 2 teams left on their schedule that they have not played in conference are Texas Tech and UCF.
So
and Baylor, of course.
If you go down that list, just to complete the video, what do you got wins and losses if you go game by game? I'll give them to you. BYU, you got win or loss?
Yeah, I have a win. I just think they're going to sweep the Utah teams.
You got Baylor
at home.
At Baylor on the next on Saturday.
I have this as a loss. That's a tough place to go into and win. Scott Drew, obviously, it just kind of seems to have our number.
Cincy coming to Morgantown on Wednesday the 19th.
Cincinnati, obviously, wheels kind of falling off the bus, but like I mentioned, I mean, it's a repeating game. We've already saw them once, and in terms of Big 12, you would think a home game will win, but I'm going to say win, but it could truly be like a 60-40% chance.
Okay, got TCU on the 25th, a Tuesday game. Or sorry, no, we got Tech before that. Got Tech before that on Saturday. I think that.
Yeah, I got Tech as a loss, man.
Yep, TCU to finish out February.
If WVU can shoot more than, 5 free throws compared to TCU's 35, I like our odds. I'll take us against TCU, which let's also maybe not, because this game also starts at 9 o'clock in a home game. Yeah. And the last game we went to versus Arizona State, 9, I mean, we're sitting there, it's 10:30. We're wondering what the hell we're even doing there.
Then we go to BYU to open up March.
I had them getting the win at home tomorrow. I have them taking a loss here as well, going to BYU.
We go to Utah on the 4th.
I had them finding their ground there as well, being over in the same state, close enough. I have them sweeping Utah this year.
And then you have UCF to end the season.
Yeah, UCF at home, I think probably final score prediction, UCF 122, WVU 130.
Okay, so you got 5 wins there. That would put us at 20 wins, and that's a lock in the NCAA tournament with no conference tournament wins. So I like that look there. I'm all good, Gage. I think that wraps up this episode.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely on the tip-off side of things, and March is coming up quick, man. So get ready.
We're gonna try and push out videos to you weekly, hoping maybe if schedules align, trying to get something after the Tuesday games and Saturday games. Please, if you enjoy college basketball as much as I do, as much as Gage loves mid-major basketball.
Yeah, next episode I'll for sure jump into some teams that can make some noise as far as mid-majors go this March.
Yes, sir. Comment if you want us to hear us cover any team or want us to go into more depth on a conference. Give us some ideas, something you guys want to hear. We love to push out content for you guys. And like always, we appreciate you watching the video. Like, subscribe, comment. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you, guys.